to episode 3, Vendor Besties. Cheers, cheers.
Here. Welcome, Daniel.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by PNW Weddings.
This is Daniel. Daniel is with the Waitstaff Team, and today we're talking all about labor at an event.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Events take work, and people don't work for free. We've talked about people don't work for free. And Daniel owns the Waitstaff Team, which is a staffing company here in Oregon. And we met because back when I was managing a venue, I did an open house. The Waitstaff Team reached out to me when they saw I was hosting this event, and they're like, we would love to come to do this thing. And I said, I don't even understand what you do. Let's talk about it. And so Meg, that works for Daniel, we emailed back and forth. And once I understood, I was like, yes, this is a great idea. So they came and they set up a little thing and talked to people. So that was my introduction to the Waitstaff Team. Yeah. And then Daniel and I met at PD Experts sometime last year, I think, probably.
Times, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're like, a, hey, how are you kind of friend.
And now we're a Vendy Bestie. Woohoo!
So, real quick, because I think a lot of us and also maybe our audience are going to wonder the same question you had, which is what does a waitstaff team even do? What are people hiring you for?
Totally.
10-second answer.
10 seconds.
Elevator pitch.
We are the fill-in-the-gap catering. Food shows up and we do everything a catering company, a full-service catering company should be there to do, but they ordered Chipotle or something else. Yes. And you guys as coordinators are left with, what else? Bussing, setup, tear down, managing the food, the flip, all that kind of stuff. We come in as a full-service catering company team with the lead, the buffet management, bartending service, all that kind of stuff. So that way the coordinators are not left with doing all the dirty work.
Catering without the food.
Catering without the food, yes. And you say that to people and they go cross-eyed. Cal looking at a new gate.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah.
I thought catering is food. Oh, if only it was food. Like,
well, if you think about it, catering, like when you use it, the word catering in another way, I'm catering to this thing. It's an interaction. It's the service part of that product. So that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That it's literally the service part. It's not the food and the alcohol.
You're catering to a need.
And of course, Safeway says we cater. And so people think, oh, I could get catering through Safeway. And then it shows up on plastic. Yeah. We know that means drop off, but the customer thinks, oh, I have my catering covered. And then food shows up and you're like, you said you had food covered. Well, I guess you had food provision that showed up in a plastic tray. And
Who handles the labor then?
Totally. There's no tongs, there's no nothing. And then, yeah. So what were you going to say?
Oh, well, this is sort of the invisible cost that people don't consider when they're budgeting for their weddings. And a lot of the times you have customers who are trying to DIY things or save $1 here or there by going with the least expensive options. And what they don't realize is the money that they're saving is on the labor they're not hiring. Right. And sometimes that puts them in this position where they're scrambling on the day of, or they're having to outsource that labor to other vendors, or they wind up spending more money overall because at the last minute, they're hiring out for that because they didn't anticipate it until someone brought it to their attention.
Yeah, so Emily does not bus, and it's in her contract that she does not bus. And I don't bus, but it's in my contract that if your catering company is not full service, you will hire my team that I bring in that gets paid to do the busing. So like I'm providing for it one way or the other. And I say to people, if you don't want to hire my team, the only other alternative is we call Daniel. It's Daniel's team, my team, or you hire a catering company that's full staff.
Right. Well, and I think that's also, I need to clarify too.
You don't have
I don't think I need, well, I wanted.
You can have really high standards.
Well, it's me, myself, and I.
It's not even high standards, it's having standards.
Period. Right. You have a team. It's me, myself, and I.
That's true.
So when I go into a wedding day and somebody's like, oh, you're busing, that takes away from everything that I am doing. I have to literally drop everything to bus tables then.
Yeah.
That is a lot of additional labor for one person.
It's astronomical.
So I don't think people understand that either. How many people it genuinely takes to bus.
Right.
Even disposables.
Right.
Yes.
Even.
Well, it's just going and picking up some trash.
Oh, people will do it themselves.
The thing is, even picking up trash, even disposables, if all of your guests ate at the exact same rate and finished all of their stuff in one go and everything was trash ready at the same time, then you could do a real quick, efficient thing and haul around a garbage can, which looks really pretty in a reception hall.
You still have to bring the trash around.
You like put everything on the tables, and that's not reality.
No.
You have had an experience where lack of staffing actually affected you as the baker.
So I did a consult recently with a couple, and they had a 200-person wedding, or are doing a 200-person wedding, no coordinator, and they asked for sheet cakes and like a display cake. Fantastic. First question is always, are you trying to save money? In which case, we can do that. Those are going to be undecorated, rough ice cakes. You keep them back in the kitchen. Do you have a kitchen? Fantastic, you do. Do you have staff to cut those sheet cakes down, plate them, and then bring all 150 slices out into the main room? Yes. Okay, if you don't have that, then you don't want kitchen cakes because they're going to have to be displayed with the rest of your dessert order. And by trying to save $1 with me, what you're doing is creating a need for a whole extension of service. So you can't really save that money at the end of the day.
It's if you want to have a good experience as a guest, if you want your guests to have a good experience, the labor has to be there somewhere, and you're just moving around who's doing it. And an inexperienced coordinator will initially take on all of that extra labor because they think that it's their job or they want to make their customer happy. And then as they grow in their business and they make good boundaries for themselves, are going to realize, wait, this really shouldn't even be my job. It should be catering's job or whatever. And one of the first questions I ask clients is, if you're having a cake, who's cutting and serving it? Because I don't do that. There's like 3 things in my contract that I do not do, period. Cutting cake is one of them because I have a horror story.
I don't even like cutting cake.
No, I hate it.
See, I do.
It's awful. Please hire Danielle to come cut the cake.
I want to do a whole tutorial of how to cut a round cake.
I will reshare that.
It did not work.
My friend, we need to talk
You should
about
have him
this.
come to your kitchen and cut it on your camera.
Totally do it. So,
Look at us generating content.
I need to learn how to cut a cake properly. What?
No, because then people will make you do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Do not teach me. I will not watch that video.
point being, go back to boundaries are, first of all, boundaries are healthy. And that is the thing that I think, especially early vendors don't understand, is you think you have to say yes to everything. Or you have to go above and beyond. And what above and beyond means is above and beyond what should be in the purview of your job. And if you are a coordinator, even if you have your food handlers or LLCC, you shouldn't need to use them or have them even on your person. That is under the purview of somebody who does that. It's the same thing of, well, I could pick up a camera and take a picture. I am not gonna go and like, oh, nobody was hired to be the photographer. Well, I'm gonna go pick up the camera and start doing it for you. Like, that would be ridiculous.
I'm so glad we recorded that.
But I'm a different vendor, right? But I think people have this misconception, especially even as the client side of this, like, well, food service is just busing, or it's just, and they throw the word just in front of it as if it's this smaller thing, right? And it's the whole reason why I started my company in the beginning. I used to work at a private club, and members would come up and say, hey, can you come to my house and fill in the blank whatever service that I need, like take coats, build a charcuterie board, or those kind of things. So that's what I thought my company was going to be at the beginning. And I had no idea that there was all these other, food drop-offs to small, mom and pop catering companies where they come in and they're just behind their.
They have no staff.
Right, they have no staff, and they would love to grow, but they're like, I'm not going to add on, because not every staff is available every weekend, right? So it's like they would have to add on 5 people just to have 2 available every single weekend, right?
Well, and that's where the gig worker versus employee thing comes into play too. So do you have, short answer, good luck. Do you have employees, or do you have
W-2 official real life business? Yes. So in my, that means I am paying for the government fees, for insurance.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, if somebody says I have a friend doing it, you better just make sure your insurance policy covers everything that goes with that.
Right. Well, I think you have a problem on the surface directly that a lot of vendors have. And you guys have talked about coordinating and cake. Little details that your marketing relies heavily on education. Because if you tell somebody that there's all these details that they need to take care of and their cousin can do it, it's like I have that problem with videography like you had mentioned. Oh, my cousin has the newest iPhone, he'll be able to do it, but he won't be able to handle the guy right behind him eating chips. He doesn't have the lavalier mics. He doesn't have multiple angles when somebody stands up in front of the groom right before the kiss. Like, he's not ready for that.
The grandma with the iPad, you know.
Right. So when I'm trying to combat that, it's like more education than it is sales. And I feel like you're like that aspect is so on the forefront for you. So how do you manage that when you're talking to a prospective client that's like, I don't think I need all this, and you're like, you do?
Is education the biggest battle? I think so.
It's education, and specifically, and this goes for any vendor everywhere, setting expectations is the number one thing you should be focusing on from the get-go. If your expectation is a $10 cake, Walmart, Costco, or whatever is going to have that, and it will probably be a better fit for you. We're not the right fit as a customer right? Same thing with staffing. I have some people who are like, look, we're just, we're doing an at-home, backyard fill in the blank party, whether it's a birthday party or whatever, and they want it to look really nice. Well, we're bringing rental materials, we're bringing chafing dishes, we're bringing platters and pans and things like that to scoop the food out of the to-go Tupperware thing that it comes in from the catering company, Safeway, and we are transferring that. And that all takes time and replenishment and whatnot, versus if you're like, oh no, I'm doing a backyard wedding thing, or what's the thing in June that everybody, graduations. I was like, there's a word that I always use.
How long has it been since any of us graduated?
Right, but we do these a lot where people are like, I'm having a graduation, and in their mind, they're thinking graduation party. And so they're fine with bringing those Tupperwares and setting them out, and that's fine. You get you pop the lid and stick a spoon in it, and you get the wire rim chafers and you put it out, and that takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes to set up and be fully ready, like from caterer drops the food off and you get everything out and everything's hunky-dory. 15 minutes to 30 minutes, somewhere in there. If you want it to look nice, we're talking an hour at least, and people just don't understand that, oh, I want this picture. It's kind of like when somebody says, oh, I want this truck. And it's like, show me the picture of the truck. You don't want the truck. You want the truck on that property with the boat tag behind it, and with all the other, and the rims and all the other stuff that goes along with it. It's marketing, right? And so it's just setting that expectation of trying to see, that's kind of why Pinterest does work sometimes, when you say like, here, can you send me a picture of what you're looking at?
So we know what their expectations are.
You're like, oh, so I just want to clarify, what you're seeing here is this whole picture. Is that what you're looking for, or are you really looking for this over here? And then, so we have pictures of like buffets for like, okay, this is a disposable buffet and this is a rental buffet. Has nothing to do with the plates and the flatware that goes in front of the customer on the table. These are the visuals. Is that, which one are you okay with? And people are like, oh, no, that definitely looks like a high school graduation. This is a wedding. I want it to look like that. Cool. You definitely need multiple people on your buffet to manage the running of all the food and all the other stuff, versus this one, it's like, that one's so easy to manage and to clean up afterwards. So it's just setting that expectation ahead of time, and we gather a lot of info on the front end, so that way if you see something that's like, we see that all the time, that means I need to ask a question. So when you said this here, can you clarify what you're actually looking for in this section? Because it changes whether we need 2 staff or 1 staff to do that.
Since you started your business, how many times have you rewritten your contracts and or questions list?
That's a good question.
Can you even count?
What do you mean by rewrite, or just consistently add, because you're like, well, now I need that line in my contract.
Modify was the word I meant.
Like when a bride says, you guys, I'm going back to California. I don't even want any of this stuff. You guys can go ahead and take any of the stuff left over.
Do they really mean take?
What that really means is they might have imbibed a few, and when your staff take all that stuff and then your client calls and says, hey, all my stuff is missing from my U-Haul, you're going to end up with an $800 to $1,000 bill at the end, trying to figure out how to manage getting either all their stuff back or just buying it off of the bride and saying, that was a learning lesson. Guys, get something in writing, like have them write it on a napkin. You said it's fine if we can take this? Yes. So yeah, that's in our
Every
contract.
policy comes from a problem.
I think that's our theme song this year. Can you have him write that into the new third
You
verse?
said the best is yet to come as long as you make every policy a problem.
I do think you said something that is really important, and I want to mark it for anyone who is planning an event. Specifically for anyone planning an event, one of the biggest green flags hiring any vendor is someone who's going to collect a lot of information up front. Having a vendor who is going to take the time to ask you questions beyond what you might originally think is the scope of their job so they can understand your entire event, huge green flag. That, yeah.
Okay, so when I started my company, I didn't realize, well, actually, I knew it. So I worked at this private club, and we would hire temp agencies. And you would have, if you ordered 10, 2 wouldn't even show up, and you're like, what the heck happened? 2 of them you wish didn't show up because of how they're dressed or smell or attitudes or whatever. 2 of them had bad attitudes but knew what the heck they were doing, so you're like, I can't send you home, I need you. 2 of them have a fantastic attitude, have no idea what they're doing.
They're just happy to be here.
And 2 of them, you wish you could hire them, but you signed a, I'm not going to hire, the staff directly or buy out. Yep, exactly. So that was kind of when I saw it, I was like, there is a huge problem in the, I need to hire staff, because what those companies do, and there's this one kid I remember very specifically, he picks up literally a 10 top. So you've got all the plates on there, and they're stacked on top of each other with the covers, and he's got 10 on there, and he lifts this up, and we start walking out. I'm like, so how long have you been doing this? He's like, I've never done this before. They just called me on Monday, said, show up on Friday night, get your food handlers, and you're good to go. Just wear all black. And I'm like, let's turn right around and go down. I want to see you put that down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up at least 3 times before we walk out, and you spill that on some bald dude's head with spaghetti on it. So he came, and sure enough, he did it. He did it really well. I was like, okay.
You're a natural, it's okay.
Yes, totally. But I'm gonna watch you the entire night, and you have a great attitude, and you have a good head on your shoulders, so I can guide you a lot. But food service is not just you can just go do it.
Anyone who's waited tables at a restaurant is gonna tell you it is not a 0 skill job.
But here's the big difference: is people think that they can operate like a company and say, hey, I need you to send me 2 temps, and I need them to show up at this time, and I need them to, they're probably gonna leave about this time, and can they wear all black? You can't do that as a private client. You have no operations. It's different when somebody comes into a company as 2 people in a catering team of 10 or 8 people, and we have 16 to 20 of our own staff. We have a whole operation going where they're just plugging into our system. As a private client, they're coming in and saying, hey, I want you to handle all the food, go. And then they go and do their own stuff. If the company is not then asking 20 to 50 questions of, so do you have a kitchen? Does the venue have a cleaning policy at the end that we need to stay and ensure that, because we had this, a venue called us and said, hey, you guys didn't stay to the end. Well, the client had us leave at 8 p.m. and the coordinator said that we were supposed to leave and whatnot. So it's like, okay, so who's this now fall onto? Oh, well, that venue requires that the catering company, which we now assume the role of, now stays to the very end and cleans everything. And if we're not asking all those questions, we have a huge long form. We're trying to make it simpler, but we need all those answers.
But sometimes it can't be simple. Sometimes you have to have very specific parts of information, and if you try to streamline it too much, stuff gets missed and you're sorry later.
And at the very end, we always say rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, and most private clients always rate it as a 5. Because
it was thorough.
They're like, this brought up so many questions that we didn't even think about. I'm like, that's the point, is you don't do this constantly. All you found out was we have food coming, a food cart showing up. Oh, I didn't even think about the fact that then we're gonna need a non-alcoholic beverage station. We're gonna need, the plates for the appetizers, because the food cart's not gonna provide that, and all the other logistics that go along with the food cart showing up, and they're gonna serve the food. Well, then what?
Food carts need to be an entire episode, I think.
So to kind of bring this conversation to a close, because that's what we have to do. Stay tuned for the next episode where we start talking dollars. That's really kind of the heart of this conversation, is that the hidden costs of running an event are focused so much on labor. So you had given us a really great wrap-up question, and that was, which hurts an event more, being overstaffed and spending too much money there, or being understaffed and just trying to wing it?
I mean, we all have opinions, but you go first.
Totally. So what's worse, spending a little bit more and then finding out you can send some people home because it's lighter than needed? Or everybody's running around, somebody forgot ice, so now you got to send somebody to go buy ice, and now we're even more shorter staffed, and everybody's running around with like a chicken with their head cut off, and everybody seems stressed throughout the entire event. What's the atmosphere that you're going for? Because if you spend a little bit more and then you find out, oh, I can actually send some people home, because we try to cut staff if we can, and we only bill for actual hours worked.
That's awesome.
Right, because it's like, I could just package deal it. If you guys want a package, boom, it's 10 grand for a plate of dinner.
Right.
Even though I could have done it for 6 because it ended up getting a lot lighter, we don't do that. So our billing is unfortunately complicated because how long is your event? You know, all the different stuff that goes into it. But it's a lot easier for us to cut it and then send a credit back to the client rather than the night of everybody's upset, everybody's trying to, you know, pull other vendors in saying, can you help here and there or whatever. It depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a relaxed, beautiful event, it's way better to spend a little bit more and have it actually go the right way versus if you understaff it, not only does it look bad on us as a staffing agency, but, oh, the client over there, or not the client, but the guest over there has no idea that the staffing and the food is provided separately. Not only that, but that we are not associated with the coordinating company or the venue, and now everybody gets a terrible review, not from the client who knows exactly who they ordered, but now from the guest. And if you've seen reviews like this, I've gone on to other companies' reviews and been like, oh, there's like 5 negative reviews. That's kind of interesting. And then you notice all 5 are from the same event. And you're like, yeah, that's definitely the guests actually pinging. And that review has nothing to do with the venue.
They want to see the people that they love having the best experience and don't understand the mechanisms behind it.
Well, and inevitably guests want to have an answer for why something isn't up to their expectations, and so they're going to pin it on whoever they can. Coordinators often get the brunt of that. Several times, you know, there's a local Mediterranean restaurant that they only do drop-off anymore since COVID, and we've worked with them numerous times. I'm sure you have as well.
Oh, yes.
And I know after the first one that I need to bring a staff of at least 8 if there's a minimum of 100 people, regardless of how it's being served, and if it's being plated or family style, like another 2 to 4 people on top of that. Because the initial time people saw, I was like, yeah, we'll set up the buffet. So we set up the buffet, and people see us handling the food and say, oh, well, why whatever this? Why this? This is too spicy. This is cold. And I'm like, none of that is my problem.
Yep.
Which you should never say as any kind of a vendor at a wedding.
But sometimes it's not.
But it's not.
But
right,
since
and
you
then
touched
I'm in the
food,
weird.
it is now your problem
Well,
because
there's
they
that.
see
Right.
So it goes back to perceptions and expectation setting, and it's you can't set expectations for the guests outside of having the correct amount of staff there to then have the expectations met, and you understanding as the vendor, I need to satisfy the messaging that other people see. That has nothing to do with hiring us.
Yes.
It has everything to do with how we come across. And so if you staff appropriately from the beginning, bill your client appropriately, and don't agree to something that you can't actually fulfill. My biggest lesson I ever learned was on my 5th or 6th event. I had a very, very established caterer who we did the bar, and at the end of the event, my staff came up to me and said, hey, oh my gosh, this catering company did awesome. They gave us, you know, extra tubs and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, thank you so much. My staff leave. And I was like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much. And he looks at me and he says, if you're going to do this, you better effing do it right and not mess it up for the rest of us. Because it's our reputations on the line if everything here looks like SHIT.
Well, I saved your ass. Don't make me do it again.
We have never been understaffed, underprepared with equipment and everything since then.
Well, I think that's like a perfect just don't. I think we can end it right there. That was.
Don't.
Just don't to other vendors.
Yeah.
Just don't assume that some other vendor should pick up your slack.
Yeah, that part. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that
I
insight.
didn't know where that was going.
Molto bene. That was great. Great way to end it.
Cheers.
Salud, salud.
Bring your sloth over here.
Season 2 of Vendor Besties is sponsored by PNW Weddings.
I've been trying to get ahead.